What's going on, Imperials? It's Emperor Cubone here. They've dropped lots of new info on the Let's Go games, with various implications. There's an updated map for the region, with the starters suspiciously near the spots they're gifted to you in yellow version. Team Rocket is officially in the games. They've also shown more custom features like brand new moves for Pikachu and Eevee, and confirmed that your partner Pokémon can be male or female. Hold on a minute. Eevee looks different. But that can't be. Eevee has looked the same no matter what. I'm not crazy, right? Huh. Sure enough, Eevee has never had a gender difference before, but they made one for this game. Truthfully, I'm not yet sure how I feel about this. It's likely just for this one form, but let's run with the concept anyway. What if any Pokémon could receive this kind of revamp? So, here are some brand new gender differences that I would change in Pokémon. Guess what, boys and girls? There were no gender differences at all in Alola. You can check, but unless you count male Salandit just not evolving, none of the new Pokémon had any distinguishing features. That's kinda lazy, especially when certain Pokémon aesthetics lean very much one way or the other. The worst to me is Drampa. The gender ratio is split right down the middle, so where are all my Dramas at? I say we at least give it a clean shave. You could maybe change the colors if you wanted, but I think it's fine in the normal palette. I think that change would make this Pokémon a bit more bearable in my mind, and make it slightly less of a problem. While Gen 5 had the most new Pokémon ever, they skimped a bit on this minor mechanic. The ones they did include are very big and can easily be spotted at a glance, but they miss on the more subtle changes that permeate the first few generations. To me, Mienfoo and Mienshao would be the perfect opportunity to add some gender specificity, mostly due to their whiskers. Look at their track record with altering whiskers and tell me that they didn't just drop the ball when it came to this Pokémon. Many players seem to think that Mienshao leans toward the feminine side anyway, so adding this small detail could help remind people that they come in a male form as well. Or Gardevoir. Strap in, because there will certainly be more on Unova. Another one that I think should exist is with Durant. Now, I'm not saying this is true, but ever since I saw A Bug's Life, I was convinced that female ants had wings while males do not. Regardless of its factuality in real life, that's what I'm proposing here. Female Durant could have wings on its back. This wouldn't alter the playstyle of this Pokémon, nor would it turn it into a flying type. It would simply be a reminder that these animals do in fact have differences with one another. Diggersby. We've been over my problems with Diggersby. It looks terrible. And the sad part is that it looks terrible regardless of the gender. I feel so sorry for those poor female Bunnelby, so I want better for them. At the very least, we could lose the mud pie of a beard that it has, simply leaving its standard fur color that's only in one other spot. And before anyone gets bent out of shape over all these color swaps, I remind you that the female Hippowdon is a much different color, so there is precedent. And then we have one of my favorite Pokémon, Haxorus. I love Haxorus, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with how it looks. But take a gander at all the other Pokémon with horns or tusks, and you might see the pattern developing. It would seem the most appropriate gender difference for Haxorus would be to dial back the razor-sharp axes coming out of its face. I imagine the female would just have them in the front, but there are a number of ways that you could have it done and still look good. I suppose this might trickle down to the pre-evolutions as well, but for now we'll just stick with the different but equally deadly final stages. And now that brings us to another similar case in Granbull. Truthfully, I assumed that this was already a Pokémon with gender differences because it so obviously fits the pattern. Having the male's fangs be more pronounced just makes sense with the reality they've established. Or if you want to say that the females need the bigger ones because they do all the hunting or to protect the nest, that's fine, but somebody needs to take the hit so that we can have some individuality. I did consider some foolish options, such as having Claydol wink all the opposite eyes, but then I saw that Skitty and Delcatty don't have any differences between them either. They seem like prime candidates. So, to me, the obvious choice would be to have the small bits at the end extend out longer, and that would probably be on the female since that is another pattern that seems to persist. I think that's quite fitting for a worthy pair of normal-type Pokémon that seem inexplicably connected to contests. And while we're here in Hoenn, it's not exactly the same, but what do we think of the idea that Clamperl's evolutions become gender-based? We could have it separate when using the Dawnstone. Remember that item they invented to evolve 2 whole Pokémon? Unlike the other stones, there has been no one new to use the Dawnstone since Gen 4. Now that may just be because there have been no new branched evolutions since then, but that only further supports how we should retroactively apply it to these two. Like how we got a new way to evolve Milotic as well. Continuing to fix the lack of any differences in Alola, I think Pikipek could be a solid contender. When I look at Pikipek, I can't shake the notion that its crest should be more pronounced in its male form. It just makes sense to me. Oh, science backs me up? Cool. It's nice to be on the same side for once. And, like most good gender differences, it could easily carry over into the other stages, with their red plumage increasing as well. I think it would work especially well with Toucanon, where it's not exactly overt, but a noticeable difference without changing too much. And while we're up near the top of the decks, let's look at another early game staple and see what we can do with the Grubbin line. One of my favorite first route bug types in a long time, the Grubbin family all have large mandibles for various uses. And for this one, I'm not suggesting that they change the size, however, I am proposing that we add a bit of color. I think it would be nice for the males to have an altering colored band at the base of each mandible. That way, it's slightly more in line with the first stage. It's a subtle change, but I feel that it's a reasonable request, especially considering what they did with Meowstic. So, those are just some of the possible new gender differences that I would add in Pokémon. Which gender differences would you introduce? Let me know down in the comments. Also be sure to leave a like, share this video, and subscribe so that you too can become an Imperial today. And we'll see you around next time!